All righty. Let's see here. All right, let's get going. All right, so last week, before we jump into today's session, I always like to just review kind of what we talked about last week. That was team incentives. Most importantly, how incentivizing your team members, no matter how you set that up, is the ultimate motivation, and how that leads to keeping your agents, your team members, your employees motivated, which I think is super important. You know, I always say whether you're selling lemonade, 5-cent cups of lemonade on the street, like my daughter does, or $5 million homes, you've got to find your motivation. So incentives is definitely one way to do that. We discussed kind of, the most common incentives that people often think about: bonuses, splits, right? Split reductions, vacations. But then we also talked about, not thinking so big all the time, right? It's the small things, it's the purposeful things that really have made an impact. I know for my team and a lot of Compass teams around the country. One example I used is my director of operations, Amber. She's been with me for a long time. Occasionally I'll just bring her a gift card, right? A small gift card to Starbucks or to, a store or whatever. Might not be, from a monetary standpoint, that big of a deal to me, but to her, someone else, it is. And it's a purposeful incentives. So don't always look at it as at incentives as, end of year bonus, end of year this. An incentive can be many things. It can really be a pat on the back. It could be, a sit down talking with someone on your team. So always keep that in mind. So, all right, let's rock and roll. Let me get my group chat up here. All right, so, I actually, luckily, Chirag, we talk about the sessions the week before, but he's kind of let me build out this program. Last week, I told you this session was going to be called the do-over. I didn't want it to be just about me, right? And then I got thinking when I was kind of building out the session and critiquing it that, we really missed a little bit on leadership, which I think is a key element of being a team leader, whether you currently have a team or are looking to grow a team. So with today's session, I kind of wanted to mix it up and combine my do-overs with leadership, because I do think leadership is at the very top of all of this. Whether you want to be a leader, you are a leader, you're not a leader, you will become a leader in some sort if you're operating a team. So we're going to kind of at first start out and go through some of the, 2 or 3 things that I really wish I would have known, right? As I grew my team or as I started my team. And this is the great thing about me being a Compass agent. I kind of get to share those things, oh man, I wish I would have done this, and add that to you. Hopefully you guys can take those and implement those into your team, and it can make you a better agent, a better leader, a better team. So let's go in. Let's talk about leadership. I've got the chat box up, so if you guys have questions, you can throw them in there. We're always short on time, so I'll try to answer as much as possible. So, all right, let's dive in. All right, so, and you're going to see as we go through this how everything has tied together throughout the weeks. I always talk about the core 4 of building your business: brand, culture, opportunities, and support. Strengths and weaknesses, self-awareness. You'll never get away with me not saying that in a session, because I believe ultimately that is the top. Self-awareness is the key to your overall success. So as much as I say, let's focus on our strengths and who gives a crap about our weaknesses, we know we're never going to do that, right? But it's how we approach those weaknesses. So from a leadership standpoint, I wish from the beginning, I understood how goals, systems, and processes aligned. I put a little quote here, forget about goals, focus on systems instead. Goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead you to these results. And I didn't understand that. I was always a forward thinker. I'm a dreamer, right? I'm an idea person. And a lot of us are as team leaders. And we forget about how we're going to get to that goal, right? Think about when you're working with your team or yourself, if you're an individual agent on here and you're setting goals. When I hear the word goals, I used to think, oh, I need to put down how many transactions I'm going to do this year and what that dollar amount is, right? Whether that's 5 million or whether that's 50 million, whether that's 500 million, it doesn't matter. But here's the thing we always miss. That's great. It pumps us up. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I want to do 50 million in sales this year. How the hell are you going to do it? That's the actual goal. So this year with my team, we're halfway through our team reviews. You should have seen the look on their face because they thought we were going to go in and talk about numbers. A lot of people, I would say the majority of agents across the country this year. Well, let's see who has had a better sales year numbers wise than they did the year before. Let's say, type yes if you have, no if you haven't. And I think the majority of people, oh, Jeff, you're killing it, man. I know. And saying no is okay. None of us have. I'll tell you right now, in 11 years in my career, and this isn't me pounding my chest, I've grown at least 20, 25% a year. This is the first year I'll be down in my sales. How do you think that makes me feel? But point being is there's so many variables with goals and numbers. So if someone sets a $12 million goal, well, what if the market crashes? What if the rates go to 15%? What if it snows or rains every day, right? Those are so many effects that you can't control. So yes, numbers are important. You need to have a reach for a number, but focusing on the systems and processes on how you're going to get to those goals. And that's what those systems and processes do, which I lacked. That was my weakness in the beginning. So I hired for it, right? I hired for it. I knew I needed someone to get me in line from contract to close. What do I do from when the contract comes in on a listing to the closing table? Those were the things I have to think about. So I put 3 little nuggets at the bottom. You know, it's not always about the number. It's focusing on the how. How are you going to do that? Whether that's time blocking, sitting down with your team, talking about time blocking, whether it's, doing weekly meetings, whether it's cleaning up your CRM during that time blocking, working with your agents on how they're going to achieve those goals rather than you've got to do this number. This is my expectation. So always think about that. Next slide. Oops, man, typo by Tommy. My bad. Being flexible, and I wish I could blame someone for doing that, but that was me. So being flexible and approachable. We're gonna get into at the end here some soft skills that I think are really important, and this kind of ties to it. Being flexible with your agents and also approachable are super important. You've got to understand that each team member, they're different, right? From the way they communicate, the way their work ethic. We talked about that a few weeks ago. Not everyone wants to sell $100 million a year. That's fine, right? Some people just want to sell 5 to 10 houses a year. That's fine, right? It's totally up to you on if that person fits for your team. But you've got to understand their why, right? Their motivation. And that's a part of being flexible. I always talk about it, the reason you're the team leader, if you have a team here, and is because you're the leader. They're not. They're never going to be you, right? You can train them and implement great systems and processes, which is going to make your life easier. but they're never going to be you, and that's okay. So be flexible, and most importantly, be approachable. That's one thing I've learned and made a few mistakes on, because I became so busy. I didn't have time for my team. And if you really want to start a team and run a successful team, you've got to be available for them. So you've got to make sure you have time to meet with them, talk about them, talk about their home life, their health, whatever that is. Adopting that we culture. I talked a lot about that in Atlanta in the session I did with the two other great Compass agents. Implementing that we culture, not that I culture. You don't want your team members scared to come talk to you about an issue or something that's on their mind, right? That's just going to lead to disaster. So, there's multiple ways you can become more approachable. Obviously the we culture, but one way you do that, right, is being a part of the team, setting that example yourself, right? I love to set the example. We had a run during the unicorn market this past year that I always reference, that everyone on my team was fat and happy. We'd have 4 or 5 open houses going on, available opportunities, right? 4. Every Wednesday, we send out an email to the team, see who wants to fill them. No one wanted to do them. Why? I'm selling homes. I'm making money. I don't need to do an open house. So you know what? I remember one weekend I went out and did two open houses on Saturday, 2 open houses on Sunday, back to back, right? Oh, Mr. Tommy, the team leader, he's too good for that, right? I picked up 6 buyers and had 6 deals closed within 45 days. I was setting the example, guys. That makes me more approachable because I understand what they're going through. So, next slide. All right. This is one of my favorites, guys. For you that know me close, know I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan. People either love him or hate him. He's a little outspoken with the 4-letter words. But one thing that I have really adapted now that I wish I knew about in the very beginning was the importance of soft skills. So many of us are wired all about to only focus on hard skills, training, presentation, management skills, computer skills. Don't get me wrong, guys. Those are super important. But the soft skills are the key ingredient to operating a successful team. He has a book. I highly recommend you guys downloading it. Listen to it in the car. It's really great. It's called 12 and a half, right? His 12 and a half soft skills: gratitude, self-awareness, optimism, accountability, empathy, kindness, tenacity, patience, curiosity, conviction, humility, ambition. The last one that I highlighted is candor. This is why I connected with Gary Vee so much, because this is my number one. I don't even want to say regret, right? Because I don't like the words regret. You always need to be looking forward. But I wish I understood candor better when growing my team. And Gary Vee calls it kind candor, which I love. I love that, Jessica. They say those cuss words are more trustworthy. You know what? It's true. And Wayne, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, but if you really dial into what he's saying, he can make an impact on you. He gets a lot of crap from people because he only talks about 4 or 5 things, but that's what he knows best. So kind candor. People often think team leaders, and I'll use myself as an example, oh, you're super candorous. They don't understand what candor is, right? Some people take it as negative feedback, right? People on the outside thought, oh, you're candorous, you're a team leader, you like to talk, you're out in the public, you make people feel comfortable. It's different, guys. Yes, I'm really good at that, but I hated having those hard conversations, right? So Gary Vee called it kind candor, which I love, and I've implemented into my team. And basically what it is giving that feedback to your team members or your employees, right? If they're not doing something well, you need to talk to them about it. I hate to say it, but I was that guy that would be at a happy hour on Thursday with a team member, even though I knew they were doing a horrible job. I loved them as a person, great person to go drink a beer with. And then Monday I'd let them go. And they were like, well, wait, why are you letting me go? And that was on me. That was my fault. I never had those conversations with them. It was just like, oh, they're not doing a good job. So being candorous with your team is a huge plus, and it's going to tie directly to the next slide. We can go to the next one. All right. These two kind of go hand in hand, right? We can talk about building teams, systems, processes, everything. You could have everything aligned perfectly, but it boils down to setting expectations up front. Setting expectations, they're going to make your employees happier. They're going to improve their performance. It's going to improve your teamwork. And most importantly, it's going to improve things and make things easier as a team lead. We've talked about this before. I just expected my team to do the right thing, right? Oh, hey, I just handed you a sign call and someone wants to go look at a $2 million house. I'd give it to a team member, and then I'd find out it took them 3 days to call that person. I was like, what? Well, I would have dropped everything at midnight and called them, right? Why did they not do that? I just assumed that's what they do. That's what I do. It took me a very long time to figure out, back to what I said earlier, they're not going to be you. That's why you're the team leader, right? You have to set those expectations up front with the team. That's why I created that team expectations page that I shared a few weeks ago. It was in the deliverables, and it will be in your CSC folder. Again, not focused so much on numbers, right? But what I expect out of the team, right? Being happy, supporting each other, covering for each other when you're out of town, leaning more towards those soft skills rather than, I expect this number, I expect this number, I expect you to do this. Because if they don't know how to do that, then none of those goals and numbers matter. And that's where the team leader comes in. So I cannot stress enough. Darlene, give an example. I'm sorry, I've got my chat over here. What would you like an example of? Oh, Jessica, I love it. Candor, learn from reality. Exactly.
Yeah, Jessica, help me out.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, you can Google the definition candor. It's one of those words that has about 7 different legs of how you can interpret.
I know. That's why I was like,
it depends on the business.
Never hear it. Yeah,
exactly. It depends on the business, what you're using it for. You could say a sentence would be like, Darlene made very candorous remarks about, the football game last night. So I interpretate that as like, she was very energetic. She really told us how she felt about that game. She really put it to us. So sometimes people think that is negative, right? But if you put the word kind candor in front of it, it's that sit down with the agent and say, look, I'm here to help you. We have these expectations, these 4 expectations, I feel like you have not been doing, right? How can I help you? And let's set you know, whether that's systems, processes, whether that's a goal over the next 3 to 6 weeks, how can I help you get better at these? And then, you know, building out something to help them improve on that. Then you're setting that expectation. So in 3 to 6 weeks, when they don't do any of it, then you can have that conversation and go, hey, things aren't working out. Rather than up front, just going, yeah, they suck, you're out of here, and never having that talk with them. Because they're like, that's not fair to them. They're like, well, hell, you never told me like what you expect, right? Yep, you're right, Wayne. And that's why that word is often avoided, right? But it's the way you approach it. So all right, so let's move on. Expectations, guys. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's the number one thing after these 10 weeks. If I could tell you, if I had to start a team today and I got my real estate license, that's the number one thing I would write first. Set your expectations with your agent. I'd write it up on the big whiteboard. Because that is just going to make the whole thing easier, right? Let's go to the next slide, because I think we're getting to the, okay. Let's look at some of these questions. We got some time here. So, oh, I love that, Jessica. That's so great. Yep. You're right. All right. How did you handle the transition from not having expectations to the team was aware of having expectations in place with the agents that knew you under both environments? Great question, Keith. It was tough. It shouldn't have been that tough, but it was really, really tough. But I did it with the team agreements and the team expectation agreements. Those were my blanket, right? Again, I was never good at that hard conversation. I didn't like them. That's why I hired Amber, because she's the bulldog, right? But it was something in our monthly team meetings when I finally understood that I needed to set more expectations. And this is a perfect time for you guys starting out the new year to reset, right? It's the best time to fire someone, and it's the best time to reset. I hate to say it, the fire part, but so I made it super, I made it super important that I consistently talked about expectations. So in our Wednesday collaborate without ego time up at the office between 11 and 2, I talked a lot about expectations. In our monthly meetings, I would outline expectations and give examples of expectations. So my team started to understand the change in me. And also I had to explain why, right? As you grow, guys, and this is something I didn't touch on, as you grow, you can get away with it in the beginning. And that's what I did. I got away with it. But then you start adding 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people. Everyone's attitudes are different. Their expectations are different. The way they work is different. Their goals are different. It's that hamster wheel. And that's what I felt. It was like, wow, I've really got to get aligned here. So unfortunately, it wasn't the easiest thing, Keith, because I waited so long. But implementing that expectation agreement really, really helped me. Let's see, Jess, here. Completed, it needs to be correct. Who knew that had to be specified? Yep, you're right. So, all right. And lastly, just one last nugget. Since we're on the leader train, you know, in the importance of leadership, right? These are kind of my top 5 things that I've put together through my experience with growing my team. Things that leaders should never do. I'm going to use this as a deliverable on Sunday in your email. So you'll get this all cleaned up, and it will actually have more detail for each 1 through 5. But I just wanted to bullet point it here. So Forgetting about to prioritize yourself first. Some people call that selfish, but it's not, guys. Running a team is extremely hard. You have to put yourself first. So for me, the first thing I do, you know, I'd lie if I say I don't look at my phone when I first wake up. I want to tell you that, but I do. But I focus. First thing I do is I get up. I make my daughter breakfast. She likes sunny side up eggs and 2 pieces of ham. My wife and I will either bring both our girls to school, and I work out. My day really doesn't start till about 10 o'clock. Yeah, I'm looking at emails and answering stuff, but I put myself first. My health is important to me. It's super important to me. So every single day, and I don't do it every single day, but I prioritize my health first. So whether that's your health, whether that's mentally, whether that's spiritually, whatever that is for you, you need to put that first, because you're going to get burned out, guys. I could have 10 sessions on burnout. It wasn't too long ago where I was ready, I was selling 100 million a year, and I was ready to hang this whole real estate thing up because I was miserable, because it was 80, 90 hours a week. And I learned you've got to be healthy, selfish. Write that word down, healthy, selfish. So 2, gratitude. We all know what gratitude is. You've got to show your teammates, the people around you, the people that you surround yourself with, gratitude. You've always got to be thankful during the ups and downs. If you forget about gratitude, that's where that nasty selfish comes in. And that's when you start approaching things the negative way. Gratitude is a huge part of my life. This is a great time, great time of the year to show gratitude. I know Chirag's coaching on it. I'm doing it with my team, sending out quick 20, 30-second videos of gratitude to your sphere of influence, your top 25. I'll take you 10 minutes to put those videos together, pick 2 or 3 people a day, set up a video, tell them how thankful you are. Maybe you create a tag only for your 2022 clients. So you could say, hey, thank you so much for working with me this year. I'm truly grateful for you. I wish you and your family a happy holiday. That's it. Send that out. Neglecting outside coaching. Guys, that was me, believe it or not. Up until 2 years ago, I didn't think I needed coaching. I thought I knew everything, right? Since I started coaching, not coaching others, but getting coached, I'm on 2 calls a week, one-on-one with Chirag, and in a mastermind group, and through CSC, and I'm in a mastermind group at my office in DFW. Coaching goes along with training, always learning. It's made me a better person, and that's the great thing about Compass. We can always we collaborate without an ego. No one is ever not willing to share their experiences and how they operate. And that's why I love doing this so much. 4, holding on to anger and resentment. Guys, we all know about that. How many? Let's see a yes real quick. And I know we're running short on time. Who's ever been upset with someone on your team, right? Because they made a bonehead decision, right? Happens all the time. Take it in, digest it, and let it go, guys, because it's never going to stop, but it's your attitude, your gratitude, and how you approach things that's going to loosen that resentment and get you to move on to be that better leader. Amen, Wayne. That's right. Then lastly, this is huge for me, defining success only as money and sales. I shared my story in the very first session about the trip to New York City, Broadway. I was making a bunch of money, individual agent, woohoo, money, money, money. I was high on money. Ooh, we could go on these fancy trips. Quickly learned that that's not what this is about, right? It all starts with your home life, prioritizing yourself, your health, spiritually, mentally. You've got to get that right. The money part's the easy part, guys. The sales are the easy part. But unless you have those things before, the systems, the processes, everything we've talked about in line, defining success just by money, it's a Band-Aid on a bigger wound. It is. So, all right, next slide. All right, so next week we have one final session left. I would love for you guys, you know, if you have enjoyed this over the last few weeks as well, on the surveys, or if you want to email Deborah or Chirag or CSC and you want to continue with something like this, let them know about it, because I would love to continue sessions like this for you team leaders out there. Next, we're going to skip next week because it's going to be Thanksgiving, but we're going to pick up for one more session on Thursday the 1st. And basically, it's just going to be a Q&A. I finally want to hear from you guys. As you can tell, I like to talk a lot. I'm passionate, but I want to hear your questions. So over the next week or so, feel free to email me if you have one or two like die-hard questions that we didn't cover. You just would love to get my opinion or input. Send me an email at tommy@thepistanagroup.com. I'll make sure I have those out on Thursday the 1st, and we'll knock those out. And really what I want to do is collaborate with you guys and hopefully bring some more value to you as we wrap up this year. So, hey guys, I appreciate y'all. You know, have a happy Thanksgiving. Take next week slow. You know, be grateful for your family, spend time with them, do those things that you never get to do. And let's finish the end of this year strong. So you guys have a good one. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.